You've talked about this lack of congregation and this feeling that the Hindu has that he or she is alone as a Hindu. But you see what's happening in India, and you will find that if you play the regional identity card, if you play the language card, you play the Jati card, then you will get thousands and millions of people behind you.
Correct.
So you call it Dravidianism, you call it caste reservations,
Correct.
you call it whatever.
Correct.
So Hindus find it easier to gather in sub-identities. Like, you will fight for your language issue, you'll fight for your regional issue, you'll fight for your caste issue, but to come together as a Hindu, why is it so difficult for us?
Correct. So this is the hypocrisy of both the left and the right, and I'll explain why. Because the hypocrisy of the left is well known, the hypocrisy of the right is rarely spoken of. And I don't belong to the right. I belong to the Indic side, I'm very clear about it, because I don't associate it with any imported ideal as much as possible. Here's the problem. So tribalism is a reality of human psychology. It could be ideological, it could be ethnic, it could be linguistic, it could be cultural or religious. Now we are comfortable with tribalism at the sub-identity level. But the moment we speak of Hinduism, we start mouthing this nonsense. It's all inclusive. You don't compromise on the boundaries of your sub-identity, but you compromise on the boundaries of the larger identity. What stupidity is this? Who is teaching you this? When Bhishma speaks with Yudhishthira at the fag end of his life and he's basically giving him, let's say, discourses on Rajniti and whatnot, one of the things I think he says is that Vedas are supreme. Now, going by that, if I say this, that Vedas are supreme, there are obviously certain folds within the Hindu denomination or Hindu sects who don't believe as Veda as the primary pramana. They may believe in the other four precepts, which is dharma, artha, kama, moksha, but they may not believe that the Veda is the primary source or proof of this fact. That could be the distinction between these Astika and Nastik schools of thought. Nevertheless, if you go by the scripture, the definition of Bharat and the definition of what is Mlecha is dependent entirely on subscription to the Veda and eating habits, which is we will not consume beef. These are certain non-negotiables. You can't say this today. The left disagreeing with it is no surprise. But you can't say this even with people from the non-left. Because apparently, to include the modern secular liberal Hindu, who anyway doesn't want to be a part of you, you must somehow compromise on your non-negotiables. Whereas the other side is saying, whoever you may be, you join this fold, you will live by this, period. That's it. If not, you don't get to speak on our subjects. You don't get to hold forth on what is modern Hinduism without actually even subscribing to the basics of non-negotiables. That need for very clear red lines is not need for fundamentalism, is the need for a clearly defined identity. And when that need is constantly diluted, like a company which wants to expand its shareholder base or its customer base at the expense of its core messaging, will come back to haunt you at some point. In such a volatile world, where identity is ruling the roost from the left to the right and every other place, you're telling me that your best possible strategy is dilution of your identity? Well, you're doing what the other fellow already wants. So what battle are you in? I don't understand. It's like getting into boxing matching. Tum kyun maar rahe? Main apne aap ko maar leta hu. You might as well get out of the boxing ring altogether, throw in the towel. So, that larger identity. Two, how do you build this larger identity? You're asking people that at the altar of Hindutva and Hindu unity, to give up Jati identities fully. It hasn't worked for 1,000 years. Because Jati will continue even after you convert in some places. You have Brahmin churches in Goa, you have Shudra churches in Goa. So if Jati is not something you're able to do away with, not just here, but in the larger subcontinent, it appears to be endemic to the reality, the social realities of this part of the world. Why do you think you can succeed where all your ancestors have failed? What do you have which they had never had? How are you better off in understanding the Hindu society when all of them have realized you can't do away with this? That some kind of grouping is going to work somewhere or the other? When you know you can't work against something, you should find a way to make it your strength. which means reinforcement of the fact that the presence of Jati and Varna is proof of presence of Hindu Dharma everywhere. It should not be the other way around. The left wants Jati without Dharma. Members of the right want Dharma without Jati. And both of them don't realize, so they are clear at the very least. You finish this, that's the end of Dharma. These guys think Dharma will still survive without this. From Lalita Sahasranamam to Vishnu Sahasranamam to Purusha Suktam to everything. The integrality of Varnashrama Dharma to Sanatana Dharma is very clear. By the time you end Vishnu Sahasranamam, it will basically speak of knowledge for the Brahmin, strength and victory for the Kshatriya, then Samruddhi for the Vaishya, and peace for the Shudra. You will find this in Lalita Sahasranamam also. In fact, it goes on to say that she is the one who has created the Chaturvarnashram. Okay? Now you please sit with me and tell me all of this is false. Why? Because you're saying, if I don't disagree with this, how will I then defeat Udayanidhi Stalin in a debate? So to defeat Udayanidhi Stalin in a debate, I will remove and deduct verses from Lalita Sahasranamam and Vishnu Sahasranamam. Jai Hindutva. Huh? This can't be the way how it works. Have the courage of your conviction to defend these concepts. What you need to be able to do is, if it results in exclusion, if it results in discrimination, if it results in a situation where it excludes people from access to certain spaces, that is what you need to fight. So to fight caste-based discrimination is one thing, and to say I will annihilate caste is a completely different thing altogether. Fine, then there is also bound to be discrimination on the basis of gender. Let's finish gender. Oh wait, left is already doing it. Because they are saying patriarchy is responsible for all evils. So finish patriarchy, so finish man, so what is left? Even woman is not there. If one identity is gone, where will be the other identity? Okay, let's finish religious discrimination. Oh wait, communism already exists, no? Because it says no God. So if you start morphing Hindutva in the mold of the left and the communists and let's say in terms of their ideology, so you're producing leftist Hindutva. So the version of Hindutva is communist Hindutva. Identity will always exist. You must find a way to reconcile it with your realities without giving up the core. It's easy to say, let's remove the concept of caste from temples. Will you say this to all those temples where the Purohit is not the Brahmin? I dare you to say this. You will not be able to say this because it's politically incorrect to say it. It will have consequences on the streets. So clearly, all the prejudices with respect to Hindu Dharma that the left has perpetuated, including anti-Brahmanism, have been successfully accepted by the Hindus, let's say the Hindutva guardians as well, which according to me is the charam seema of the success of the left. When you speak in their language and you have just called it Hindutva, social justice and reform, what is it in, how different is it in spirit? Only the difference is in the labeling of the product. If that's the case, I might as well go with the original. Why should I go with the counterfeit? As an IPR lawyer, I'd say go for the original then.